Hello and welcome to my third video all about sentences. This is about complex sentences. Okay, so a complex sentence is one which contains two verbs and a subordinating conjunction. Okay, no, don't worry, I will explain what all of those things mean. So once again, a bit like with the compound sentences, that's not a very good rectangle. The whole point about a complex sentence is that actually I'm going to do that in a different color. The whole point about a complex sentence is that you've got two sections once again, but this time with a complex sentence the sections can move about and the thing in the middle is not called a connective anymore, it's called a subordinating conjunction, and examples of those are things like because and actually let's type these out. So because and what else, although, O-U-G-H, and when oops, W, whenever, and if, and to be honest there are lots and lots and lots of them. There's about 20, at least 20 of them. Okay, now as I said, the thing about complex sentences, the reason why they're more difficult is because you can have the subordinating conjunction at the beginning of the sentence, or you can have it where it was before at the middle of the sentence. You can't have it at the end of the sentence, so at least that's one thing that one thing is sorted. Okay, now if again the complex sentences, because two things are happening, so let's think of a sentence. So imagine that you're at home and somebody rings the doorbell, and then you've maybe got a dog and the dog starts barking. So we could say there are two things, and those two things happening are the doorbell ringing, the doorbell rings, and the other thing that happens is the dog barks. Okay, now we have to start asking a few questions. Okay, so first of all, if the dog barks, does the doorbell ring? No, because otherwise every time the dog barked it would make the doorbell ring. Okay, and that's not the way it happens. The next question is, if the doorbell rings, does the dog bark? Yes. Okay. So there's a few of these different subordinating conjunctions that we could use in the middle. So we could say, for example, let's put this over here. So let's put this here. So the dog barks. Why does the dog bark? Sorry, why does the dog bark? Because the doorbell rings. So we could use because. So we could have here B-E-C-A-U-S-E. So we can have the dog barks because the doorbell rings. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is we could say the dog barks when, yeah, the doorbell rings. Okay, so that's that. Right, let's think about if. We could have if the dog barks, if the doorbell rings. So all of these are okay. Now you can't use all of them because some of them just don't work, some of them won't make sense. Now, so the part of the sentence, so let's make that like that. Okay, now these two bits, the if and the doorbell rings, these are called the subordinate clause. Now don't worry if that's a bit difficult for you, but these are called the subordinate clause, and these two bits go together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put them in the same section, and then I can get rid of that if. I don't need that there. Right, so now what I can do is I can move bits around. So what we've got is the dog barks if the doorbell rings. Oh, right, okay. With complex sentences, you can move them around though. So we can have this way round as well. So if the doorbell rings, the dog barks. Now, if we do this, we've got a few things to do. First of all, if is now the beginning of the sentence. If the doorbell rings. Second thing, we don't need a capital letter there, so that's lowercase. Third thing is we need rather a full stop. So if the doorbell rings, the dog barks. But can you see the gap? The gap, what you have to do is you have to put a comma just there. Okay, now if it's the other way round, if it's the dog barks if the doorbell rings, you don't have a comma. Let me just cover that over. You don't have a comma, that would be a full stop, and you wouldn't have a full stop there. Okay, but if it's this way round, then if the doorbell rings, comma, the dog barks. We could have when the doorbell rings, the dog barks. We could have, so we could have when as well. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about complex sentences. I hope that helps.